looking at your IndyCar career, and we're going to have to talk about it, the pass. I don't know if it makes your heart sink, but for those listeners who haven't heard about the pass, you were leading the Laguna Seca Grand Prix, a race that you went on to win on 2 occasions. And unfortunately, on the last lap, Alex Zanardi, who went on to be a double champion in India or a Champ Car, overtook you through the corkscrew. First of all, because we're Europeans, tell me, Alex Zanardi, did he cross that boundary, and was that an illegal pass?
Well, certainly in today's day and age, by today's interpretation, yes, that was a shortcut, and it wouldn't have flown. But then was a different time, and it did. So you have to say, okay, well done to you. And it's obviously not fun to be on the wrong end of that. I don't have nightmares about it. I don't look back on it now. I mean, it did bother me at the time, obviously, but a lot of time has passed, and I actually had some really good private conversations with Zanardi more recently when he was over here driving the BMW, and he was teamed up with my son, and we had some really frank conversations about it. At the time changes perspective, time changes a lot of things, and I think knowing what Alex has been through and sort of ups and downs that his life has thrown at him, I don't look back at it now with anything other than just memories of that time and being part of a really great era in the sport. And that was obviously not my day, but I was happy to be able to come back the following year, and ironically it was Alex and I again at the end of the race battling it out, and I was able to I'll say even the score, I was able to win that one. So I'll call it a draw at Laguna Seca with he and I.
Yeah, we'll call it a draw. You went on to have 2 victories at Laguna Seca, and you seemed really dialed in there. Before I hand back to Denz, just a quick question about your sort of memories, because for me that was, and maybe we're getting back there now, that was really the peak for me for Champ Car, just sort of the vibrancy, the talent, the competitiveness. Could you reflect on perhaps your kind of your best memory from your time in Champ Car, and also perhaps the toughest or best driver you faced?
Yeah, I mean, it was just a great time, right? I mean, I've always been a fan, and I have a lifelong love for the sport of IndyCar racing. I think it's a great format, a great formula, and the racing is always good. But certainly, like all forms of motorsport, it kind of goes through some peaks and valleys. And proud to have been part of it at a time when I think it really it took off when Nigel came over in the 90s, straight off, reigning Formula One world champion, came over to Newman Haas. And there was so much fanfare and so much attention on the sport at that time. And then that's what really attracted a lot of European up-and-coming stars like Alexander Zanardi, who ended up coming over and having great success, and Juan Pablo Montoya, and you can name quite a few guys like that who came over sort of in the wake of Nigel Mansell. It was just a great time because it felt important what you were doing. There's just loads of people watching, and to have that kind of fandom around what you're doing, it's an amazing time to be part of that. And I feel fortunate, kind of experience a lot of those kinds of things that maybe some of the younger guys haven't seen firsthand yet.
Oh, thank you there, Blag. And Brian, I just wanted to kind of sequence into that kind of theme as well, about the plethora of drivers just in your generation. You had the likes of Gilles de Farron, Dario Franchitti, my friend Mark Blundell as well, Jimmy Vasser, Bobby Rahal, Michael Andretti, Paul Tracy. From that kind of like pool of amazing drivers like yourself, Brian, which driver from your generation would you rate the highest? And who would you say was your favorite teammate of all?
So, I mean, the 2 guys I really enjoyed racing against the most were Al Unser Jr. and Michael Andretti. Competitors out there, but also two of the fairest. I mean, I think they set the bar very high for just how they raced people, and that you could go into a corner side by side with one of those guys and 99.9 times out of 100, you're both going to come out the other end because there was mutual respect and they took care of you as much as you took care of them, and they raced you the way you raced them. So I really enjoyed having that experience with those guys, but also just, the chance to race against so many great names, like you said, and in terms of natural talent, I would say that when he came in, Juan Pablo Montoya was the most naturally gifted or talented driver I ever competed against. When you're out on a track with somebody, sometimes you see things that you can't see on TV. And I remember watching him do some things in the car that you always think I can beat anybody, but there was a few times when he came in that I watched him do some things, and if I was honest with myself, I was like, shit, I can't do that.